now I have agita.
Well, hi there, Jennifer with agita.
Hello, Mother.
Oh, you ate that salad pretty well.
I'm not done.
You're not done.
Not done.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Right Stuff. It's 7 o'clock, and guess what time it is, Jen?
What time is it?
Time for the right stuff. So, welcome to everybody. Jen, tell everybody what you were doing while we were waiting to come
Making
on
a
in.
salad. I haven't eaten today. I'm a
So-
grown adult that forgets to eat.
What kind of salad did you
I
make?
made a lemon salad with chicken.
Lemon salad. All right. And we got it all on tape, but the angle was
I won't
really
let her play it.
bad. She would. I was hoping that if we had a cooking show, we might get more viewers than a political.
If we did it topless, we would.
Well, well, if you did it topless, if I did it with a bag over my head, maybe we'd do better.
Why do you have bangs, Leticia?
Oh, I have bangs because today was a very interesting day in the Remauro household. Your father and I are doing construction on the kitchen in the condo, and I was the kind of catcher for sheetrock that we were taking off the ceiling, and he was pulling it from the far side, so I was on the back end because it comes down usually, like this. And so I was ready to catch it from his end. And instead of it coming down like this, it came down like this and hit me straight in the face. It was about 65-pound piece of sheetrock, and it hit me right between the eyes. So I have a nice big bump. Thanks for asking, Jen. Oh, thanks, Mom. Well, now you know I have bangs. And Lucille Chabron, our OG.
Hi, Lucille. Hi, Grandma.
Okay. But that's not the most interesting thing that's happened to me this week, Jen. Guess where I was on Friday?
Where? I know, but I'll let you tell it.
I was with the Horry County Women's Republican Club. I volunteered to help Tim Scott, our senator in South Carolina. And I helped to set up the stage, and I helped do some great stuff. And I spent some time with the senator. He is a phenomenal individual. He signed my book, and darn it, I have it in my bedroom next to my nightstand. I didn't bring it here. Hi, Chris.
What room is that?
Chris Cuddy?
No, I'm asking you what room you're in.
Oh, I'm in my office right now, but I've been reading the book, at night. So it's on my nightstand, but I'm so excited. We had a great talk about South Carolina and all the great things that are happening here. If you haven't gotten a chance to read Tim Scott's book, I recommend it strongly for everybody. It's an amazing, amazing book about, a guy that was overcame a lot of adversity to become a leader in high school on his football team, and then in college, and now in our state. And I pray that one day he'll be president of the United States. He's got a little time to serve yet, but I think that we'll see him as president. And tonight we have some clips from his crazy opponent, Democrat opponent. So we'll talk a little bit about South Carolina. So anyway, and what was your week like, Jen? Other than you
same old, same shit, different flies.
Oh my. That's a new one.
Did I say same shit or different shit? Same shit, different flies.
Different flies. That's what I haven't heard.
New flies came to see me. Wedding season is here, so.
And you looked beautiful at all the events that you went to. if anybody wants to see the beautiful dresses that Jen was wearing, go to her Facebook page and take a look. And I'll remind everybody here, if you're with us now, of course, you are live with us on Facebook. But if you're not seeing the promos for the show, that's because Facebook has shadow banned us. So just hop over to Rumble. If you can't watch us live on Facebook, watch us live on Rumble and get involved. But at any rate, so this week's show is called Donkey Days, Jen. And all of you tens and tens of viewers. The reason it's called Donkey Days, Daze, is because the Democrats have been messing in Republican elections this year. And they're not even ashamed of it. They're actually letting people know that they're doing it. In past years, they've meddled in elections and they've tried to keep it quiet. But I guess since they meddled in the big one, the 2020 big steal of elections, now they're very, very bold about it. And their goal is to try and meddle in the primaries so that they have an easier chance of beating the Republican opponent in November. And they're doing it in certain states, swing states and southern states. So I'm going to show you some news clips from these election cycles. Some were from recent, some were from a couple of months ago, but of how much money the Dems have spent to meddle in our elections. Did you know they were doing it, Jen?
Did I know that we're doing what?
Meddling in our elections.
Well, I mean, I think both. Well, they do it mostly. I mean, the Democrats, but I sort of figured that out.
Yeah, okay. Well, it just goes to show you that not everything is as it seems, and we have to be ever vigilant about what we see on TV and the news media, and also in advertising, because it's just crazy stuff. Donkey dick would be better. Yeah, that's true. I didn't want to get banned, Chris Cuddy, though. Sometimes even Rumble doesn't like the titles of our shows. Mm-hmm. But before we get started, I want to give the Fauci Award for Gullible People to the Pennsylvania Democrat Party, because they are running a gentleman named Fetterman, who indeed had a stroke during the campaign and has kind of gone underground, but they're continuing to run him. And I want you to listen to just a clip of his campaign speech. Watch this.
Going with the union way of life and be please understand the stakes in this race. Send me to Washington, D.C. so I can work with Senator Casey and I can champion the union way of life in D.C. Thank you very much, and it's an honor. I live 8 minutes away from here, and when I leave tonight, I got 3 miles away, Dr. Oz in his mansion in New Jersey. You've got a friend and you have an ally. Send me to Washington, D.C. Thank you very much. Thank you, Steelworkers.
That's bold Biden.
Unfortunately, I think he was more cohesive than Biden. I was able to understand him better than I was able to understand Joe Biden. Now, listen, as someone who's had a stroke myself, I am no way making fun of him. But if the man cannot string a thought together, we're going to send him to.
I'm sure if you find videos of him before his stroke, they're exactly the same.
Daddy's on the same page with you. He's like, he's speaking Biden. Oh my God, what a putz. He must be related to Biden. No,
he was fixing someone's carburetor. They're like, hey, you want to run for office? He's like, sure. He found it in Walmart.
Here's the worst part. The Democratic pollsters want us to believe that he's got a lead against Dr. Oz. that he's 3 points higher in the polls than Dr. Oz is. So that's why the Pennsylvania Democrats get our Fauci Award for gullible people. They are putting him up to run against Dr. Oz, and they're trying to tell us that he's ahead in the polls.
Imagine that he wins. Oh my God.
Well,
Dog and pony show.
He doesn't know where he lives. Again, you know what? Similar to the president. So why should we be, why should we be surprised? We shouldn't. It seems like the Democrats are just, they're focused on giving us incompetent, incoherent people to represent us in Washington, D.C. Well, if it's good enough for President Biden, I guess it's good enough for everybody. So in 2016 elections, this next clip, Hillary Clinton launched a scheme to use her friends in the media to help Donald Trump become the Republican nominee because she thought it would be easier to beat him. I guess that didn't work out so well. But listen to this. This is a great little clip.
John Gibbs is too conservative for West Michigan. Handpicked by Trump to run for Congress, Gibbs called Trump the greatest president and worked in Trump's administration with Ben Carson. Gibbs has promised to push that same conservative agenda in Congress. A hard line against immigrants at the border and so-called patriotic education in our schools. DCCC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
That is right. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, or DCCC, funded that ad. Why are Democrats paying to raise the profile of a fringe candidate in a GOP primary? Because, according to Politico, Democratic strategists believe if they can boost Myers' pro-Trump challenger to victory next week, they will have an easier time this fall trying to flip his seat. It's not just a lark. This seems to be a full-fledged Democratic Party strategy going into November. In Pennsylvania, Democrats helped boost Doug Mastriano, a pro-MAGA election denier, in the GOP primary for governor, hoping his right-wing radicalism will turn off voters in the general election. But recent polls show Mastriano has a good shot at winning right now. On the one hand, all of this seems to be unfolding according to old, time-tested rules of American party politics. You want the other guys to put their worst candidate forward. But worst and unelectable are no longer the same thing. How do we know? Because that's how we got Trump. Remember back in June of 2015 when Donald Trump rode down a gold escalator and announced his candidacy? It was a train wreck, but not to the Clinton campaign. To them, it was an opportunity. 2 months before Trump's announcement in April 2015, Clinton staffers sent the DNC a memo laying out their plan, a memo subsequently published in the WikiLeaks trove of Clinton campaign emails. Quote, "We don't want to marginalize the more extreme candidates, but make them more Pied Piper candidates who actually represent the mainstream of the Republican Party." It went on to name these Pied Piper candidates: Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, and of course, Donald Trump. The memo added, quote, "We need to be elevating the Pied Piper candidates so that they are leaders of the pack and tell the press to take them seriously." We all know how that turned out.
They should know they did it with their president.
Well, they did. They did it. They got rid of they cleared the field of the Democrat candidates and trotted in Biden and never let him out of the basement. And, I would say he became elected, but we know how he got elected. But that's not the first time, obviously, it happened, but they were taking pages. This is the new kind of playbook for the Democrats. In the 2021 elections for mayor, Bruce Teitelbaum, who was formerly a Republican, registered as a Democrat and spent millions of dollars sending out ballots and letters or change of registrations and letters to Republicans and blanks and independents in New York City, saying that they should register in the Democrat Party because whoever wins the Democrat primary will win the mayor's race. And they wanted the quote unquote most conservative candidate to win. And they got Adams. So how'd that work out for New York? I mean, how did it work out?
Oasis of delight.
Yeah, an oasis of a delight.
When
How
you
many
miss de
more-
Blasio, there's a big problem.
This is the truth. And Jen, you've been saying you miss de Blasio over and over again.
I do. I went to
Yeah.
the city the other night. Was horrific. There was drug addicts. I'm not even exaggerating. We were in the Village, Upper East Side, by Katz. They were laying on the sidewalk, all races, all genders. Like some people looked like they had their clean dogs with them, clean in sundresses, shooting up heroin.
Yep.
With total like junkies just everywhere. But now they're hiring private security guards to clean up the streets.
Isn't that well, because they've lambasted the cops. The cops are all leaving. And the interesting thing was in that target, that 1.6 million, they targeted New York City police officers to change their registration to Democrat, hoping that they would vote for Eric Adams, because they considered Eric Adams the most conservative of all. And we all know
Most cops hate Eric Adams, so black
but
and
they
white.
did it. But they did it. A lot of cops changed their registration to Democrat and voted in the primary and voted for him because he was, quote, the most conservative candidate. And look at what's happened to New York City. So, this method of campaigning seems to be backfiring on the Democrats. It obviously backfired, thankfully, in 2016 with Donald Trump, but they're doing it again. And, the question is, what makes them think that doing it in the 2022 midterms is going to have a better outcome for them? For me, I think it's really something to watch, because the more conservative candidates are winning their primaries. So what's going to happen in November? And how much money were the Democrats willing to spend on this kind of campaign? Okay, have a guess.
100 million, 10,000 million.
Well, as of March, oh, that's funny. 10,000 million. As of March, the number was 44 million. I'm going to play you a clip in a minute. I would think if we all change blue, give them a boost, thinking they have it in the bag, and come November, all vote red, it would give a blow to them hard. Yeah, it would. But the problem is, if you start bleeding people out of the Republican Party, Chris, people sometimes, once they change their party, they often have a connection to that party, and you start to see their philosophies change because they changed their party. So I think it's a dangerous game, and I think they showed it was dangerous for them in 2016 because they hated the outcome. And
Just
now,
stay honest, and everything will fall into place. That's what I always say. It always backfires.
Mm-hmm.
You do the right thing. I always say everybody should, when they run, change their party to Democrat, then get into Congress, and then really right in the ass to everybody.
Well, and we're a little later on in the program, we're gonna see that in South Carolina, the candidate Kimberly Matthews actually wants to do just that, and we've got her on audio. Yeah, it's pretty good. But let's see first. Listen to this.
All right, thanks for being with us and welcome back. Well, the Democrat strategy to try to sway the Republican primaries is under scrutiny right now. And this is interesting because Democratic groups have spent nearly $44 million this cycle to boost not Democratic candidates, but certain Republican candidates, people who Democrats say that they would prefer to face in the general election. So, for example, the Democratic Governors Association has spent more than $1 million in ads to elevate Dan Cox. That is Maryland's Republican governor candidate, and he won the nomination. In Illinois, Democrats spent a staggering $35 million on ads supporting Darren Bailey, who did win the GOP nomination for governor. And the same situation unfolding in Pennsylvania. Democrats Democrats spending money to boost Doug Mastriano's profile in the Pennsylvania governor's race. However, the strategy, we should know, does not always work. Democrats spent millions of dollars in several different primaries in Colorado and California, but were not successful there. So we do want to ask our roundtable panel, should political parties meddle in each other's primaries? Let's start with you, Aaron.
This isn't anything new. Unfortunately, the more aggressive TV ad buys, I think, are the newer portion of this. But you've seen this kind of back and forth on both sides. And I would caution, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If they want to try and elevate candidates that they think are more beatable, but then they end up getting beat themselves, the Democrats in November, they're going to have the worst of all situations. They'll have flushed their cash down the toilet, and they'll have a person in a governor's mansion or a Senate seat or a House seat or wherever the case may be that they thought was the weaker candidate.
Don't they have to say at the end of that ad, like, paid for by?
Yes, if you noticed in the clip that I played about with the Clinton, I mean, it said paid for by the DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign. I know you have a hard time
like
hearing.
this. It's better today, but
yeah, but they say it at the end. But do you listen to that? Do voters listen to that? They just hear the message over and over again. And so, but again, they're playing God in some ways. Oh, look, Mickey Patrides is here. Hi, Mickey. Mickey is a true blue conservative. His father, his family have been part of the conservative movement in Staten Island. As a matter of fact, his father, Mike Patrides, was the brain trust behind the election of Rudy Giuliani as mayor of New York City. And Mickey is every bit as smart as his dad and every bit as involved. Good to see you, Mickey. Thanks for joining us. So, the problem here is that when you give, when you're playing these games in other people's parties, then you're forcing or creating like a buzz around a candidate that might not have been the candidate's choice for the majority of the rank and file people. Maybe that's good. Maybe it's bad. Maybe it gets people out, to vote better. Maybe the messaging is better. But you see it more often happen with the Democrats meddling in the Republican primaries than the Republicans meddling in the Democrat primaries, because the Democrats, have strongholds, especially in places like Chicago and New York and LA, and it's impossible to break through. And for the longest time, I've been an advocate for nonpartisan elections in big cities, because I think that if you have nonpartisan elections, then the chance of having a conservative in a big city actually get some airtime, some earned media, some real media. If you don't have the label, then how are they going to know who you are, what your registration is? And, the possibility of others then, just Democrats getting in, it's probably pretty large. Nashville here. I'm coming October 6th through 10th. Keith Urban on tap on the 7th Bridgestone Arena. That's great stuff, Mickey. We love him, Keith Urban. So at any rate, let's see some of the ads that they're running, because the liberal media covering it are like losing their minds, saying that these candidates are unelectable because they believe in God, or they believe in guns, or they believe in education, parental involvement in education. Watch these ads.
This is Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano. He's the Republican who's ahead in the polls for governor. He wants to outlaw abortion. It's Mastriano who wrote the heartbeat bill in Pennsylvania, and he's one of Donald Trump's strongest supporters. He wants to end vote by mail, and he led the fight to audit the 2020 election. If Mastriano wins, it's a win for what Donald Trump stands for. Is that what we want in Pennsylvania?
All right, so that ad that you just saw there, that was paid for by Josh Shapiro's campaign. He is the Democratic nominee for governor in Pennsylvania. It ran as the Republican primary race for Pennsylvania governor was actually heating up back in May. And as it turned out, Doug Mastriano won that primary. And it seems like the money Democrats spent on the attack ad it might have actually helped Mastriano win that race, perhaps because some Republican voters wanted a win for what Donald Trump stands for. And now Mastriano, a far-right candidate, has a real shot at the governor's office. He is now polling within the margin of error of Democratic nominee Josh Shapiro and is busy courting establishment GOP donors. Now, Democrats are running the same playbook in Maryland, with one Democratic group spending more than $1 million on advertising that elevated Republican candidate for governor Dan Cox, promoting his ties to Trump as well as his pro-life and Second Amendment stance. Apparently, a lot of Maryland Republicans were actually into that description. Yesterday, Dan Cox won the Republican primary for governor of Maryland, defeating the current Republican governor's protege by a 16-point margin.
And that's exactly what Hochul's doing to Lee Zeldin.
Explain.
She's putting out ads that are just talking about not cleaning up the streets, not cleaning up drugs and gun control, nothing more. It's all about Lee Zeldin and Trump, Lee Zeldin and Roe versus Wade, and how he's dangerous because of his views and because he believes in the right to carry. That's it. They make him look like he's a child molester in these commercials. So,
really?
Oh, it's terrible. And, Lee actually said, that's wonderful. Go ahead. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do. I'm not going to bash her. I'm going to talk about how I'm going to clean up the city. And she's not talking there's not one thing, not even how she's going to fix her eyebrows with that Botox, that her eyebrows are up to her hairline. No, it's terrible. They're really bad.
So in that's a head-to-head. That's Hochul versus Zeldin. And Hochul is counting on Hochul, who made the commentary that there's no room for Republicans in New York, that we don't belong there, that New York doesn't want us there, and we should all leave because that's not what New York is about. She's taking a pretty big gamble because other than New York City, the rest of New York State is fairly conservative. So think about what she's doing. She's got far more money than Lee Zeldin, and she's spending it telling people what his name is, telling them he's a Trump supporter. And remember, in the 2020 election, Trump came, he got over 40% in New York State. So that was a good number for a Republican in a true blue state that has no chance of ever turning red in the near future. I mean, we did it, or at that point in time in 2020, we had Cuomo in. There was no kind of chance that we were looking at a Republican governor coming in 2020. But he got 40% of the vote in New York State. So what she's doing, I think, is crazy because she's elevating his name and she's talking about conservative issues. She's banking on abortion being a real big issue, but I believe truly that the abortion issue for those that are pro-life, the abortion issue will drive people out to the polls. And there are a lot of people, a lot of Catholics especially, right, that are pro-life. And they'll be moderates. And they'll be Democrats, but they'll be Catholic first, and they believe in pro-life. Whereas the pro-abortion movement, pro-killing babies, that's a very finite group of people, and they are not going to. Those who would come out only on that issue will only ever vote liberal Democrat. So she's really bankrolling Lee's campaign, in my opinion, and it's going to backfire on her because he's now polling over 30% in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Which means he needs 35. If he can lock down 35% in New York City, he will be New York's next governor. So, she's taking a big risk, and I'm glad she's doing it. I think she should keep on spending her money telling people who Lee Zeldin is, especially when it's things like that, parental control in schools, for Second Amendment.
He's only trailing her by 6 points as of 2 days ago.
And that's because she's spending all that money. How stupid can they be? So if all of a sudden we see these candidates losing across the country, then there's only one explanation for it, that they did 2020 all over again. And that's problematic.
Well, people are waking up in the city. Listen, everybody of every walk of life is sick of what's going on here. You know, they were playing a game. They let everything go. Now they're trying to clean it up very fast. What do they have? 2 months left, not even till the election. So now they're trying to clean everything up and do everything that they can. It's too late. Everybody's sick of what has happened. So I was in the cafe at my building 2 days ago. I was sitting in the cafe and I heard an Albanian man who was talking to an older gentleman, telling him I was a Democrat my whole life and I'm sick of what's going on. And I registered myself a Republican. I couldn't have been happier with my choice. And they were speaking about this is a man who lived in Albania. I was hearing him, talk about where he came from when he came here, changed his whole view because of how the city has become in the past couple of years. So.
And it's happening quite a lot. I mean, it has always been my belief that the Hispanic population, especially in blue cities, could make a difference in Republican races. They would vote Republican because their values are more conservative. Same for African Americans, especially the church-going African Americans, the very religious African Americans. These are people that I saw on the street who told me they voted for Trump. And now we're starting to see African Americans. We're starting to see Hispanics. We're even starting to see
tons of Asians.
Asians were always more of a Republican group, but they didn't turn out to vote so much.
They never came out to the street. I've never seen the turnout of people at rallies and out. They are like all over the place.
And that's because, especially in the Asian culture, it is so important for the children to succeed in school. The Persian culture, same thing, children to succeed in school. Nigerian culture, children to succeed in school. So when they see these crazy, things that they're trying to teach children in public school, these culture that it's going to be the libs think they're doing the right thing, and they're thinking that people of these cultures will just follow them down this crazy rabbit hole of, it's not even liberalism. I don't even know what word. It's just psychosis.
Insanity.
It is insanity. And these cultural groups are going, oh, wait a minute, hold the phone here. This does not represent my moral values or what I want for my children in the future.
Well, because they've created a circus, and no matter what you are, what nationality or anything, this is a circus.
That's right.
This can't relate to anything, any upbringing, any family value of any sort whatsoever. So it's a circus.
And that's what, and the party that was supposed to be, for the immigrant, right? For the working people, they treat people from other cultures as if they're not white and educated, then therefore they must be poor and stupid. And we have to dumb everything down. And people have pride in their culture. People who immigrate here, especially those who do it legally, but I'll even go so far as to say those who come here illegally. The Mexican culture is about family. It's about unity. It's about
working,
working, right? It's so, all right, you're throwing free money, but to treat people of that nationality or that culture or background as if they're too stupid to be able to earn or teach or whatever, that it's insulting to them. And that's why I believe that at the end of the day, the Republicans are just bringing in more people who are immigrants to this country because their moral center is more aligned with the Republican Party than the Democrat.
Listen, the liberals are talking to the privileged white lazy child.
Bingo.
That's all they're talking to.
That's right.
The ones with the degrees, the ones with that's exactly who they're talking. They're not talking to anybody else because those kids have no family values anymore because they're white privileged with no family values. That's it.
Right. And recent polls have shown that Hispanic and we have a clip about it in a couple of seconds. Or a couple of minutes. The polls are showing that working people are coming over to the Republican Party, and the Democrat Party are gaining amongst white educated people. White for educated people. And so it's exactly the people that we saw in the streets, at the George Floyd protests and the BLM protests. It's the same people that are demanding that the rainbow issues be taught in
because their
school.
parents don't pay attention to them. That's exactly why. That's it.
Well, they've been indoctrinated right through college, and now they're effectuating to the rest of us, and they think that we're too stupid to understand what's good for us. They're so much smarter, and therefore they're all going to be Democrats, and they're going to teach us stupid Republicans.
I said it the whole time during Occupy Wall Street when we went to Washington, D.C. All of these people living in tents and complaining about equality and this and that. I can't find a job. My life sucks. All white privileged children with blue hair, gauges in their ears, bars through their noses. You can't get a job because you look like a circus animal. Like, that's why you don't have a job. This is not about the country that we live in. It's about you. Clean your act up, get your shit together, and go and get a normal job. That's it.
Well, they don't want it. They don't want a regular job.
They want to be whoever they want to be. Listen, I would like to go to work like this every single day, but guess what? I can't.
Because now you can, because they've dumbed down even the workplace to the extent that, they expect to see you with dreads in your hair, filthy and disgusting, and tattoos all over your body, and, high on pot. I mean, that's all there is left out there in Park Slope.
We've become LA.
Yeah,
we are LA.
Yeah, I mean, LA has set the bar so low for everyone. It's just ridiculous. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately for us, we're becoming the have-nots. We are becoming the group that works like dogs to supply the taxes so that they can the elites can decide where our money is spent, and for their own benefit and for the benefit of the people that they think are too stupid or too, they can't help themselves. So let's throw money at them.
Listen, you and Daddy are very lucky, because when I decide to put you two in a home, you're going to be very well taken care of. When I go into a home, I'm fucked.
Well, we're going to be well taken care of, because you're our only child to inherit everything that we've worked hard for. So you get the millions we've saved up over the years.
Well, then I'll make sure I go into a fantastic home. But those people that are going to be taking care of me are those kids with the blue hair and the gauges that cry and complain.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. It's I worry a lot about what's going to happen.
You know where my son is right now? He's at work. You know where he was yesterday? He's at work.
Well, good for him, and that's exactly where he needs to be, because he's got a good mother. All right, so this is an ad that they did against Daze. Watch.
Millions of advertising dollars boosting Ron Hank's conservative credentials, paid for by the Democrats.
Democratic Colorado is responsible for the content of this advertising.
The Democrats spending this much money to nominate the weakest candidates is smart. I mean, I think it's unethical, but I think it's smart. And frankly, it has moved voters.
They've dumped so much money into this.
Republican Senate candidate Joe O'Dea, a businessman and supporter of abortion rights, is not just fighting Democrats boosting his competitor, but also millions to tear him down. He can't even get through a campaign event at a restaurant.
Yep, there's my commercial there.
Without a negative ad running in the background.
Why are they targeting you with so much cash?
They know I can win. And they're going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to beat me in November, so they're trying to get me off the ballot right now.
But, the former GOP chairman, I thought was very interesting when he told you what Democrats are doing is unethical but smart. What do Democrats say in response?
Well, the Democrats, in short, say, so what? What they're doing is not illegal. We reached out directly to the super PAC that is funding this effort, Democratic Colorado. And here's a statement that we got from the spokeswoman. She says, quote, "We are an organization committed to ensuring that Colorado doesn't elect a Republican to the U.S. Senate. Both GOP candidates are totally out of step with our values, and voters deserve to know the truth about who's running to represent them." But of course, Aaron, if you talk to the Republicans actually running in the Republican primary, they just simply call it meddling.
See, the super PAC should be abolished. I don't believe in them.
Bingo.
Terrible, terrible mafioso political groups. And I do not think, and both sides, I mean, they all embezzle from them. Well, I think it's more so the Republicans. See, the Democrats mess with the Republican elections, but the Republicans just mess with each other and they embezzle from those super PACs.
Well, the whole idea of the PAC is that you can give anonymously. There's no cap on the amount of money that you can give. I mean, so all of these transparency rules and regulations that Congress passed on elections and New York passed and this state passed, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit because it's all you have to have is a PAC. And the PAC, you can give money in whatever denomination you want, and you can spend it on any candidate you want. And the only rule is the campaign can't coordinate with the PAC that is, I'm sorry, I have to.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So
but it happens all the time.
It happens all the time. So for the tens and tens of listeners out there, call your Congress people, call your state senators and say to them, well, you want my vote? Get rid of PAC money. Get rid of the PACs. Make the PACs as transparent as any other entity and watch how fast the swamp is drained in Washington. If there are no PACs, and you know what? It'll never happen. I'm going to tell you why. Because those PACs.
Everyone's making money.
That's right. Television ads. So do you think that news media is going and news stations are going to allow the PACs to go away? During election seasons, which is longer and longer and longer, they make billions of dollars on every campaign.
Well, not even that. Even the people running are going to make, or not. They're not going to have candidates to run anymore because they embezzle all that money. It's like a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Especially like the Republicans in the blue states, when we know some congressional candidates that just go on the ballot so that, they can hire a whole bunch of consultants and not actually run a race.
I would love to say his name.
And these matching fund races, there are people that'll just go and matching funds and they're hiring all,
and they live the life using their cards to go out to dinner, bring their husbands.
That's right. Exactly.
Their gay husbands to dinner. I'm not gonna say the name. I really want to. But
there's no reason to say it. But it's the truth. The bullshit about things being transparent has been a shell game from the beginning. It just makes it harder for non-establishment candidates to actually run for office. Every time they tell you that they're trying to make it easier for regular people to run for office.
Yeah, right.
Know
career
that
runners. That's what they are.
The consultants to make money. That's it.
Career runners.
And that's what they do. I mean, how many people do you know that have run every year for an office, one after another, and it's craziness. And so we have to end the PACs if we're going to get rid of the meddling that is going on in these elections. And I think that clip said it all. It's unethical. And when this was a former Republican chairman said it was unethical, but it was smart. And the Democrats said it's not illegal. Well, then let's make it illegal. Because if it's either that or let's get rid of partisan elections altogether. Because if we didn't have partisan elections, then people would actually have to know the candidate they're voting for, and they'd have to pay attention. And it'd be a free-for-all. And maybe, but at the end of the day, maybe we'll get quality candidates for everything from dog catcher on up to president of the United States. Because, they like to say that Donald Trump was not a president. He was not presidential. What? Do you think Joe Biden is presidential? And the Pennsylvania Democrats, Fetterman, they're yelling about Dr. Oz being a television personality. And
Reagan was, I'm sorry. Trump,
Reagan, Trump, and now Oz. I mean, and there's been so many others.
Ventura, Schwarzenegger.
Right. And they were all good at their job. They were outsiders who ran and actually won because they did have name recognition. But they want to blame Trump and they want to say Trump wasn't presidential. But you have this bumbling idiot, standing there, at the podium, not knowing his own name, shitting his pants. please. All right. Well, okay. So now let's get to Kimberly Matthews. This is the future now. She's a 30-something educated African American, and she's running against Tim Scott in South Carolina. And her campaign is so bad that the South Carolina Democrat Party, because she was the outsider and she won her primary. It's so bad that the Democrats are actually calling for her to step off the ballot and let Tim Scott run unopposed.
Stop.
Let me show you why. This is fantastic. Hold on. Here we go.
My first question is this: what can we do to help you with your campaign, first of all?
I know y'all both activists, and I am too in my own way, right? I'm very much in a lot of ways, but I know how to turn it off and turn it on. You know, I know how to be in certain spaces. You know, you got to be able to turn it off and turn it on.
Correct.
So, like, we literally, like, this is the only way you're going to change the dynamics in South Carolina. You got to find some folks that are a little bit polished, maybe are not, you know, nobody really knows them that well. Maybe they haven't really been politically active. But we need some secret sleepers. Like, we need them to run as the other side, even though they for our side. And we need them to win.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then when you get in there, when we get enough of us in there, we can wreak havoc for real from the inside out. Then we can flip some from the inside out. We got to take back some of these seats, especially in these local elections. You know, we need people to run as Republicans in these local elections. And we need, I mean, they family, they can't tell their family, you know, period. Because I can't trust family. Family, the first turn on you. You can't tell them. So, you know, like, man, I didn't think he would ever be a Republican. You know, they're going to have to be able to, listen, when I say they're going to have to be able to take some I'm talking about at the dinner table at Thanksgiving when they on the Republican ticket and everybody at the table looking at them sideways like, I can't believe y'all running the Republican. They got to be able to take that on their chin.
Yep.
And I still got to struggle to raise money for my campaign. Where the is my black people with money? I don't care about no dope money. Give me that dope boy money. Where the duffel bag boys? Find you somebody from your family that don't even know you donating to my campaign and put that under their name.
First off, she's a dope, because if you don't think you're being recorded when you're talking to an inmate, how the fuck are you going to run for office? Like, how dumb are you?
Well,
you might as well just gotten a bullhorn and just screamed that in the streets, that whole conversation.
Well, she admits that she had the conversation. Project Veritas got hold of the tape, you know, and it was, I guess it was given to Project Veritas, and they exposed it. This is the second time that she's been exposed. The first time she was talking about white people being dumb as shit. You got to treat them like shit. You know, she plays along so that white people think, you know, that she's okay, but, you know, she's all about the black people. So that was the first phone conversation that was leaked. And then this one, and she says it straight out. She said it. She believes so much in what she's saying. She thinks she's untouchable because she beat the Dem establishment. And that's why the Dem establishment wants her to suspend her campaign, because they rather have Tim Scott than her representing the state of South Carolina. And I agree. I mean, she's talking about taking dope money on her campaign. She wants to be a U.S. senator. Okay. Now let's think about this, ladies and gentlemen. She wants to be a United States senator, and she wants to take illegal contributions to get her there. And she says
that's most campaign people.
Well, listen, you know, I guess maybe you're right, but
they just don't do it that dirty.
You know, I mean,
do their white collar
give
money.
Me dope money, give me duffel bag. But how about her? Though she's just painting a broad brush against across all black people. You know, where's the dope money from the black people? What? You know, really? Why? Because you're talking to an inmate, or because that's how you feel about black people? We already know how you feel about white people, but is this how you feel about black people? I mean, but
that's Lucifer right there.
let me ask you something. All the tens and tens of viewers we have out there. Has anybody seen this on the news? I mean, Crystal Matthews, she's running against Tim Scott in South Carolina. At least Harris only needed knee pads to get ahead. Well, I don't know if you call it ahead. I mean, she got up the chain and then bam, she runs into a brick wall as soon as she hits her wagon to, bumbling Biden. Oh man. So let's see. Oh, we're getting late. All right. So here, listen to this. This one I love. This is a Democrat political consultant telling these two CNN hosts that the Dems are leaving the party, and then they turn on him. Watch.
People of color have long been the backbone of the Democratic coalition, but there are some signs now that that coalition is changing. In the 2014 midterms, for example, the Hispanics went for Democrats by 26 points. And in a new poll last week, that advantage has shrunk to 3.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty big problem. I mean, if you look at the realities of American electoral politics, the fundamental political arithmetic and geography of the country, to be losing support as much as they are among working class voters in general, Hispanic voters, it's very bad for them. It makes it very difficult for them to cobble together the coalition they need overall and in a lot of states and congressional districts to achieve the political success they want. So it's very non-trivial. I mean, if you look at the New York Times Siena poll, the data show that Democrats are actually losing working class voters as a whole by 11 points and carrying college-educated voters as a whole by 23 points. That's a massive shift, a yawning chasm, which suggests that the historic party of the working class in the United States maybe is no longer the party of the working class.
You wrote this week, Democrats' emphasis on social and democracy issues, while catnip for some socially liberal educated voters leaves many working class and Hispanic voters cold. Their concerns are more mundane and economically driven. Are you kind of leaving the Democratic Party a little bit over some of these disputes about their focus?
Well, like someone once said, I'm not leaving the Democratic Party or the left. The left and the Democratic Party, to some extent, has left me, though I still consider myself a Democrat. Basically, what has happened is the Democrats are now associated with a set of issues that you might call, that you might characterize as culturally radical, and race, gender, crime, immigration, and so on, that I think is contributing to them bleeding working class voters.
How much of this is, when we say the Democrats are too focused on certain things, when you say that, is that real or is it a lot? I mean, you see the same things that I do, conservatives elevating small issues and making that the Democratic Party brand. Maybe
this is what I characterize as the Fox News fallacy, which is basically the only reason why issues like crime and immigration, things around race and gender ideology, what's happening in the schools, et cetera. The only reason these are issues is because Fox News is talking about them. There's a lot of propaganda and disinformation. And what I think that leaves out is these are real problems to real voters.
Sure.
Okay. Well, listen, I know a ton, well, maybe tens of Democratic people running for office that won't even be seen with people of their own party because of how they've become. So.
And he's one of them. And she's trying to say that the conservatives are trying to label the Democrats as those are their only issues. But the Democrats are the ones who have embraced those issues. And here's a guy who's been a Democrat consultant his whole life. And she's like, well, you're saying all these things. Are you going to leave in the Democrat Party? And he says it. The Democrat Party left him, and it left many, many working people. And the fact that the Democrats still don't see that these issues, as he said, it's a fallacy to say it's because Fox News is bringing it up. The fact is, these are issues that are important to people, and they're pissed off about it. But the Democrats won't see it. And so long as we have these know-it-all hosts of these news shows that are going to, kind of get snippy with the Democrat telling you, hey, the Democratic Party is going to implode, you're going to wind up seeing us, the Republicans, win. Gina Conroy joined us. Hi, Gina. Good to have you. And so, so now they did their worst, right? The Dems spent millions of dollars getting the unelectable candidate or the worst candidates elected in their opinion. And now they're starting to pound on Trump, right? And now they're trying to say, oh, these people are Trump people. And so, oh, boogeyman, you can't, he's scary under the bed, right? You can't vote for him. Well, here's a Democrat consultant saying exactly why they can still win in November. Why?
Great to have you back, Dr. Sabato. You seem more optimistic about the Republicans in the Senate midterms than Mitch McConnell. How come?
Well, actually, I think Democrats right now, if the election were today, would win a majority in the Senate. The reason I think people are pulling down the curtain too quickly is because so much is yet to unfold and so many things can happen between now and November. Just look at the last several months.
When you study the numbers for the president, his approval rating, and look at history, there would have to be a significant disconnect for Democrats to retake the Senate. And by that, I mean, the president's underwater. How much so, we don't know. You'd expect, therefore, that it would be a bad year across the board. Can you speak to that?
You've got a president who has gained a few points because of his recent legislative victories. He got out of the 30s. He's now in the low 40s, and that helps. But it's nowhere near where a president has to be to help his party stay in office.
Which of those 4 states do you most want to know the answer to as being indicative of the outcome of the midterms?
Nevada. I think Nevada is the state that, well, it's extremely close. And even though it leans Democratic normally, that's because of the demographics, the large percentage of Latinos, Hispanics in Nevada. And you have the first Latina in the U.S. Senate running for re-election, Catherine Cortez Masto. But here's the problem. Republicans have been draining away Hispanic votes in several regions of the country. And that could happen in Nevada, too, and make all the difference in the Senate race.
So, it goes back to the Hispanic vote and the fact that working class people feel that the Democratic Party have left them. And, the president is in the shitter. I mean, there's no way he could carry anybody over the finish line. And they're trying everything. They have gotten rid of.
They lowered the gas prices.
Yeah. Well, they got rid of almost all of our reserve, right, to lower the gas prices. Now, what? Now we're in hurricane season. What's going to happen when you can't drill offshore? When you can't bring in the
They don't think
oil
about that.
just before the election? How stupid! How freaking stupid is he?
And like I said before, when you sit back and you watch the shit show take place, it unfolds into your favor. You never retaliate negatively. You just sit back and watch the show.
And that's where they are right now. So I think that for any of our tens and tens of viewers,
I don't even. It's not even. It's 9 of 10.
And believe some of the hype that the mainstream media is telling us that, the Republicans are ahead, like with the Fetterman, Dr. Oz race in Pennsylvania, or that the Democrats are ahead rather, and that the Republicans can't win. Just remember what you're hearing here is the fact is that the candidates that did get elected in the Republican primary are the more conservative candidates, are for family values, are for the working class people, and they're going to show up at the polls and pull that lever. So remember that. So our former president, we have some comments. Let me take the comments.
Oh, Jody's been here.
They are all a bunch of pansies. This is true. Keon Marshall, I don't watch fake news. Good
it's
for
all
you,
fake.
Keon. It's all fake news. I've been here. Jody's here. Hi. You're the news now. We are the news, and we're not fake. We bring you everything together.
That's why nobody watches.
That's why nobody watches. That's why they ban us. That's why they shadow ban us. But you got to spread the word, share the show, because we try to bring everything together so that you can see what's going on. And when you take a look back, you can pull it all together and put it in one space and show everybody the hypocrisy that it all is. And that's what we try to do here. And I hope that we're being successful in doing it. We're somebody. You're right. You're right, Jody Wasserman. You are somebody. And I agree, Gina. I agree. Okay, we have let's see where the former president stands with his endorsement of candidates and their winning.
Meanwhile, the former president's grip on the Republican Party continues. More than 190 GOP candidates backed by Trump have won their primaries this year, with few exceptions. In Connecticut's GOP Senate primary, a Trump-backed candidate pulled out a surprise victory last night, and the Trump-endorsed candidate in Wisconsin defeated the state's former lieutenant governor in the race for governor. Tonight, one university professor says Trump candidates are indeed doing well.
Right. He's done pretty well for the Senate races, a little bit more mixed for the House races. And some of those statewide elections, he's actually not done incredibly well.
After January 6th. So far, 7 Republicans who voted to impeach the former president over the January 6th riot have either lost their primaries or decided to retire. Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney, who is on the January 6th committee, has a primary challenge next week.
And we know how that turned out. She got her ass kicked. Richie Mandel, we watch you. Thank you, Richie. We love you. We love all of our viewers, all tens and tens of you. Kian, keep up the great work, ladies. You are who the people have been waiting for. Thank you, Kian. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Okay, so finally, so now let's get it together. The Dems spent money in races in Republican primaries to get the winner to become what they consider unelectable. The people who say family values, that life matters, that guns, Second Amendment rights should be upheld, that we love the police, that we want a smaller budget, and there should be parental control of education in school. And they spent all that money, and those candidates won. And they connected every single one of them with Trump. Now their job is to destroy Trump so that all of those people who won will now have a black eye. So that in November, if you pull the lever for one of these Trump-endorsed candidates, you are a bad person. You are an insurrectionist. You are illegal. You are all these things.
Racist.
And for good measure, hi, Antonio.
Hi, Antonio.
Ciao. For good measure, they throw in an investigation about him having top secret documents in his home, even though they cleared Hillary Clinton on her server situations. So what do? They sick the FBI after Trump, and they make us all think that he's going to go to jail. Well, watch what's been going on with the FBI. This is Senator Grassley. I love him dearly, but he is a snooze fest to watch. So I clipped it up so that we could all stay awake, but get the gist of what he's saying.
Oh, it's Aunt Gloria.
What's that?
Gloria.
Oh, Gloria's here. Oh, well, let me take Gloria. Thank you, Gloria. If anyone has missed any of the broadcast, please go to Rumble. Follow us and give us a Rumble.
Stop being lazy. It's
just
free.
Follow us on Rumble, please.
We look like losers.
Yeah, we do look like losers. We need to get to 100 followers on Rumble. Very easy. Just look for the right stuff and it'll come up. So anyway, here's Grassley talking about the FBI. Watch this.
Last week, while I was meeting with constituents in Iowa, news broke here in Washington, D.C. about Assistant Special Agent in Charge Tim Tebow's retirement. Since May 31 of this year, I've highlighted Tim Tebow's partisan bias and how it infected major FBI investigations. That included a July 18th letter of this year that highlighted his role in opening a criminal investigation into Trump's campaign and advisors. Tim Tebow predicated the investigation in a substantial part on liberal news articles, as well as information derived from a liberal nonprofit. FBI officials wanted to take action with respect to this separate investigative information that the FBI had in its possession related to Hunter Biden. However, Thibault blocked the FBI from doing what would normally be done. Therefore, without additional transparency from the government, there's a very real chance the Hunter Biden criminal probe doesn't include the full evidentiary picture. Now, how can the American people trust the result?
Jen, wake up!
What happened?
I know, but he's on our side. He's probably he's got the biggest balls of many, most in the Senate right now. I know he's 109 years old, but if you watch that, look that up on YouTube. That is him. He opened an investigation on the FBI, and he's showing that the FBI was audited, and out of 1,400 cases, they mishandled 735 of them. They used hype and media to get search warrants.
Of course, but I don't think anybody got that from that.
I know, and it's so hard because he goes on for 20 minutes and nobody wants to sit through. I know, and nobody wants to sit through that. But read his stuff. If you can't watch his stuff, read it. At least, the written word is amazing. But follow him, Senator Grassley. He is uncovering the muck of the swamp. He's on our side. I know he's tough, but he's tough to listen to, but reading will be okay. We'll definitely follow you on Rumble. Thank you so much, Gina. Gloria, I started snoring. Sorry, lady. I know, Gloria, I'm sorry. You're hysterical. Yeah, try and catch up with Grassley. Read it. It is amazing what is going on in the FBI. And they have written letters. They've demanded information. And the FBI has stonewalled them at every turn because we're in the minority. So if you vote Republican, especially in the U.S. Senate races, I don't care if you don't vote anywhere else. In the Senate and congressional races, vote Republican this year. Get out. I don't care if you believe it's fixed. If not, at least if we go out and we vote in mass and we vote to change, then we have, if they steal these elections, we have more behind us when we go and ask.
Don't mail in your ballots.
Don't mail in your ballot. There's a big movement now. The Democrats in New York have sent out 2 Republicans to vote absentee. And guess why they want them to vote absentee? Because they don't get counted unless the election is close in New York.
Yep.
So there's a whole situation going on now.
Drive your neighbor if she's elderly.
And also, if you register in New York for an absentee ballot, they will hold it over and keep sending you an absentee ballot unless you tell them to stop, which means that they can pick up those ballots and vote them out for you. And people went to the polls in this last primary, including myself, and they already sent a ballot to South Carolina, where I wasn't at the time, and I wasn't able to vote on anything other than paper, an affidavit ballot. All right, we went way over with tonight's show. I really thought we were going to be under time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday. Jen, do you have parting words?
No, I'm tired now after that.
I know that's why I put them at the end. I was afraid we'd lose everybody if it was at the beginning. All right. Love you all. Go to Rumble, share this show with friends. Tell them it's on Rumble. Share the link on Rumble. Get people to watch this show, and we'll keep on doing this and giving you as much information as we can. The truth is out there, ladies and gentlemen, and it's our job to dig it out and pull it together so you don't have to. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.